Well, hello YouTubers, I hope you can hear me. In a previous video I showed you my home-built high-capacity rock tumbler. I'll put a link to that video in the upper right if you want to check it out. But let's see how this is working after 4 days of continuous running. Well, 4 days and it's still going. The rubber bands are starting to wear, as I knew they would. The caster wheels are wearing, which was a little unexpected to me, throwing a lot of stuff all over the place. I think they must be made out of the same material as the wheels on my 3D printer, because it sheds a lot of stuff too over time as the wheels roll back and forth. But it's still working. This just has been running all night, most 4 days now, and it's the motor's just a little warm. Of course, it's very cold this morning, so we got Mother Nature doing some natural cooling out here on the equipment. But yeah, it's still going. Now, I've got this going fairly fast, but I can hear that the rocks are tumbling over each other in there. They're not just being flung out to the edge. So I'm thinking, 4 days. This is probably the equivalent of about 8 days at the speed my little tumbler goes. So I think in another day or two we'll have enough time on this to actually open it up and see what the rocks look like inside. That's what I'm thinking anyway. So for now I'm going to get started and leave it go for another day or two and see what we got. So there they are after 6 days in the polisher. I think they need to go probably about that long again in rough grit, but they are starting to look really nice, especially when they're wet. Oh yeah, really pretty. I mean, those were just some seriously ugly rocks when I put them in, but I knew they'd turn out pretty. So I'm going to stick them back in with some more grit and let them run for at least a few more days. Look at them and see if I think they're ready to go. Some of them would probably be ready to go to medium grit now, but I think I'm just going to let them all run on rough grit for a little while longer. Okay, we are 7 days in, and one of the rubber bands has failed. Interestingly, it's popped off rather than breaking, but boy, it's all shredded. So I will replace that with a new rubber band. It popped off the back wheel there. I'll replace that with a new rubber band and get this thing up and running again. This rubber band here, that looks like it's not long for the world either. So about a week's run time out of them. Okay, good to know. Let me get it started since it still seems to have good traction, even missing one rubber band, while I go scare up some fresh rubber bands to put on it. Alrighty, it's a couple days later. Whew, look at the pile of rubber down here from these casters. Each caster has a pile of rubber next to it. They're wearing, but not as bad as the rubber bands. I just replaced all the rubber bands with, I got some platinum rubber tactical rubber bands. Yes, believe it or not, they make tactical rubber bands. We'll see if these last a little longer than the vegetable wrapper rubber bands I've been filching from the kitchen and using. And yeah, they're kind of not lasting all that great. So we'll see if these last a little longer. They weren't that expensive. And get this back on here, and we'll get it started up. In another day or two, we're ready to have a look at the rocks. I bet a lot of them will be ready to go on to medium grit. So let's get her running again. Well, they got lots of traction anyway. And then, got this bin here. Still get a little air ventilation for the motor underneath it, but it blocks a lot of sound. It's a lot quieter. A whole lot quieter. I mean, I don't have any immediate neighbors, but I am worried that the ones across the street to the north will eventually get tired of hearing it because they're the closest neighbors. And this blocks the sound going to the north. So, all right. We'll be back in a couple of days and see what's in the drum. Well, it's day 11. I was going to let it go another day, but it's not sounding right. And I think I know what the problem is. I think it's time to open it up and have a look at what's happening on the inside. One of my tactical rubber bands has popped off. Oh well. Alright, let me get it opened up. We'll have a look inside. Okay, like I said, I suspect I know what the problem is. I think it's gone all foamy in here. Yeah, look at that. Wow. Yeah. Holy moly. Look at that. Wow. Huh. I know rocks are in there somewhere. Oh yeah. Looking pretty nice. To get the foam off of them. That reddish foam is from the iron, in the banded iron I'm tumbling in here. I wonder if putting a little bit of jet dry in here would help with the foaming or make it worse. Good question. Anybody has a lot of experience out there tumbling? Leave me a comment. Let me know what to do to prevent the foaming. It could be I just have it spinning a little too fast too. But these are nice looking. I'll give you a close-up look at them. I'm thinking a lot of them are probably ready to go on to medium grit. Oh yeah, some of them certainly are. Maybe a lot of them. I'll give you a close-up look. Well, here they are. Boy, they are a sight to behold when they're wet. Look at that. Beautiful or what? Petrified wood there. Look at this piece of petrified wood. Wow. Love, absolutely love banded iron. I love it. I would say most of these are ready. Now, ready to go on to medium grit. Maybe not all of them. Certainly most of them, I think, are ready. Huh. The color on that. Wow. Very nice, very nice. That's a piece of petrified wood too. It's still a little rough. But I'm sure, I don't know. I have to think about it. Let me look through these a little more and see if they're all ready to go to medium grit or not. Okay, after looking at these all really closely, I have decided that most of them are not ready to go on. I mean, this has some really rough areas on it. A lot of these have some really rough areas and sharp corners on them still. They are not as smooth as I would have hoped. I mean, this one could go into medium grit, sure. This one could maybe go into medium grit. There's a few here, but most of them, I think, would benefit from tumbling in coarse grit for a while longer. I mean, they're only in there for 11 days, and the last day or two may not have been too effective as foamy as it was. So, Yeah, I think I'm going to put them back in and let them tumble in some coarse grit for at least a few more days, and then we'll see what we've got. So back into the tumbler with these with coarse grit. That sounds right again. Okay, yeah, the last day or two may not have accomplished much in there. There may not have been much real tumbling action with all that stiff foam in there. Okay, so we're just going to let it go for a couple more days at least, and then we'll look and see what's inside. Okay, this has been running, well, longer than I expected. I had a minor medical procedure the other day, so this has actually been running for about a day and a half longer than I was planning on. So hopefully the rocks in there have had a chance to smooth out some. So I think I'm going to empty it out and have a look at them and see if we're ready to go on to medium grit. All right, here we go again. Let's see what we got this time. At least some of them were ready before. We got less foam, although there is some. This happens with that banded iron. Huh. Banded iron is hard stuff. I mean, they're definitely getting better. But it looks like most of the banded irons, I would say, well, with the exception of maybe this one looks pretty darn good. But most of them still kind of rough in places. I mean, this jasper right here is nice. This is nice. Well, no, it's got a couple little dings on it that still need to be ground out. That's pretty rough. Even though it's pretty rough. Got a big ding in it. And some rough areas down here. This is all rough. I probably shouldn't even try to polish this one. But yeah, this petrified wood's ready for sure. Yeah, this is ready. That one's probably ready. That one's ready. But unfortunately, a lot of them just aren't. They're still got some rough spots. I mean, definitely better than the last time. Definitely better than last time, but I'm thinking they might need to go a little while longer yet in rough grit, unfortunately. I'm impatient, but you know, you got to have patience when you're tumbling rocks. It's not a quick process. I'll give you a close-up look at what we got here. Yeah, well, they're sure getting pretty when they're wet, but they still got some rough areas. Yeah, all through there, that's all rough. This back here is all rough yet. It's kind of concave there, so that's going to take a while to smooth out. Kind of rough right there, and right around in there. This one's, I would say, mostly ready. It's right in here. It's a little rough yet. Some of these I don't think are going to smooth out. That one's pretty close to ready. That one's got a rough area right there, and right there too. It's got a kind of a pit in it. but like 90% of it's beautiful. This piece here, I call this stuff flame jasper for obvious reasons. It's a little rough around this edge. Yeah, here's another piece of that flame jasper. Look at that pattern on there. Isn't that beautiful? It's got a couple holes in it, which probably aren't going to grind out on a piece this thin. Those holes go probably halfway through it, so I'll probably have to live with those. But this is going to be gorgeous when it's finally polished. This piece down here, got some pits in there, some pits there. On the whole, it feels pretty smooth, especially on this side, but yeah. Petrified wood is polished up nice. All the pieces of petrified wood in here are polished up really nice. But the rest of this stuff, a lot of it needs to go longer. So back into the tumbler. A few more days or a week. We'll just have to wait and see how long it takes. So back the stones go into here. I also threw a couple stones in that I thought weren't ready to go on to finer grits on my small polisher, so they came in here. And there's a lot of little bitty fragments here that have broken off the other stones in there and have gotten tumbled some. I'm going to throw them back in too because I think they make good filler. And they help polish inside the concave areas of those big stones. I'm going to throw them all in there. And then some water. It's not quite up to the top of the stones. And then we're going to put in 4 heaping spoonfuls of rough grit. And then put the lid on and get her spinning again. I made a sleeve to stand this up in because I made the foolish mistake of putting a round end cap on it so it won't stand up on its own. But I got a little sleeve here. I can stand it up in while I work on it. Yeah, the next one I build will have a flat end cap on it. For sure. Whoa, what a mess of rubber powder. My tactical rubber bands are holding up pretty well though, better than the other rubber bands I was using to start with. Okay, so here we go again, and we'll be back in a few days or a week and see how it's going again. Okay, so a couple minutes ago I mentioned my small tumbler. Well, I think it's time to have a look at what's going on in here. These have been in polish for quite a while now. In fact, they've been in polish for weeks. I wasn't really happy with the polish I was getting with the 3000 grit, I think it's 3000 grit aluminum oxide polish that I bought. So after they were in polish for a while, with that, I cleaned out the tumbler and I put some optical grade cerium oxide in there, and they've run for about 4 or 5 days since then. Wow. Yeah, wet they look amazing. Let's see how they look dry. Because dry, the polish wasn't that, oh yeah, wow, that is like a mirror finish. Love that cerium oxide. Oh yeah. Oh, that's amazing. I love it. I love it. Oh, here's a nice piece. I'll have to give you some close-up looks at some of these rocks. They are just amazing. Some more banded iron in here. Oh, it's got like a mirror polish on it now. Now, nice. Nice. Very nice. Some interesting multicolored jasper. Oh yeah. That's crazy good polish. I'm loving it. Alright, these all turned out great. Another nice piece of nice piece of little banded iron here. Yeah, even bone dry, they are so shiny. That's amazing. Cool. Alright. Excellent. Alright, I'll get you a close-up look at some of these. Okay, I hope the shine on those rocks is coming through, and I hope you can hear me over the other tumbler. But wow. Yeah, that is just an amazing shine. Amazing polish on these things. They just took a really great polish. I mean, I love this rock. I love this rock. I guess that's like multicolored jasper in there. I love this one here, which has got these orange bands in it. And it is just so shiny. Goodness. This one's neat. I picked it up because it had that red stripe through it. You know, got the banded iron. They're all just looking so great. Just turned out fantastic. I hope I can do this well with the big tumbler, the noisy big tumbler. Yeah, wow, good stuff, good stuff. All right, hopefully the next time we look in the big tumbler, they'll be ready to go on to the next grit. Okay, let's see what we've got here. These have run longer than I planned on because, well, I screwed up. I shut this down to film a segment for another video the other day, and I forgot to turn it back on. So I went all night without running one night. Oops, that was an oops moment. And then the other day I came out here and found one rubber band had popped off and the other one had broken, so it really wasn't spinning very fast. It was mostly the plastic rollers were skipping against the plastic drum, and it was just like, yeah. So I let it run longer than I'd planned just because of those two instances, but it's come time to dump it out and take a look and see what we've got. Okay, it's the moment of truth. Let's see what we've got in here. The usual red-brown mud. Oh, those are some pretty rocks. Wow, those are some pretty rocks. Yeah, I'll clean that out better if I decide we're ready to go on to the next grit. Okay, so I have learned from experience now not to judge too quickly about whether we're ready to move on. So I'm going to take these over and have a good close-up look at them and then come to a decision. Yeah, these are some pretty rocks when they're wet. Still got some roughish areas on it, but I don't know if this one's ever going to clean up. Those pits are pretty deep on it. Oh, that one looks nice. This one's definitely ready to go on. The petrified wood in here, I got a few pieces of that. It's ready to go. Those are nice. Yeah, there's another piece of petrified wood. Yeah, that has a really deep fissure in it that I don't think it's ever going to clean up. But 90% of the stone looks beautiful. This one's a lot smoother than it was. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's a lot smoother than it was. This one's been ready since like the first week. This one's nice. I would say ready. Yeah, again, this one has some deep pits in it that just aren't going to clean up, but most of the stone is just gorgeous. I would say that is ready. Oh yeah, there's some of that flame jasper. I love this stuff. It's so gorgeous. Again, it has a few deep pits. They're never going to clean up, but most of the stone is gorgeous. Yeah. I would say we are ready. A few of these might not polish up nice, but you know what? They're in there as aggregate to help the rest of them polish anyway. So, you know, anything that doesn't come out nice after the next few grits, you know, I'll just recycle back into the next batch of rough stones that go in. I mean, these were very rough, angular stones. They had no weathering on them at all. So they have cleaned up a whole lot. The next time we're out in Wyoming, I want to go explore some places where we can get banded iron like this that's already weathered. So it's not quite so angular and rough. So, you know, rock hounds, they don't tell you their best spots. But I've been watching other people's rock hounding videos. There's a few clues in the background, if you know the geography of Wyoming. So I want to go out there and see if we can find some already nicely weathered banded iron that will tumble up a lot quicker and prettier than this stuff even. But this stuff's gorgeous. So I think we're ready to move on. I'm going to clean out the tumbler barrel good. I'm going to put these back in it and we'll go to medium grit. So in we go, back into the tumbler. Yeah, I would pull out the ones that I don't think are ready, but I think we need to have a full tumbler here, or at least fairly full. Got a little over 3 pounds of rock here, which I think is actually underutilizing this tumbler, and I don't want to fill it any less full than that, because I don't think we'll get good tumbling action. So I'll just leave the ones that aren't ready in there. I don't think it'll hurt anything. They might actually get a little more smoothed out as I go through the next few grits. And if I don't like the looks of any of them, they just go back in with the next batch of rough stones. Alright, get some water and grit in there. Okay, in goes some water. Oh, it's dark in there. I don't want to overfill it. There we go. And not quite submerging the stones. We got some medium grit. Step 2. Four heaping spoonfuls of this. And let me get it back. Put the lid back on. Good and tight so we don't have any leaks. Okay. My sleeve off that stands it up. Put her back on here. Okay, so I'm going to give this at least a week in the medium grit, and then we'll look and see what we got. I'll put my noise shield back on. Don't annoy the neighbors too much. And we'll see you in a week, I suppose. I think this is a good place to break up this video, so the next peek inside the drum will be in the next video. So I hope you found this video somewhat interesting, educational, informative, whatever. Give it a like, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to see my future videos on rock tumbling, and gold recovery, and silver refining, and all the other stuff I do. Check out my second channel, ElectroGeek64, where I do electronics and retro computing, if that interests you at all. And thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.